Okay, so this evening I would like to introduce to you Patel, or Van, she prefers to call herself, who is the bariatric alongside me with New Leaf, specifically on our Bariatric Success Programme, and she is amazing. All our patients absolutely love her, and she's really great. She's got a really lovely soul and a really nice heart as well. So I'm just delighted for you to be able to talk to her tonight, or to hear her. Can you just give me a quick, somebody tell me that you can hear me, and then I'm hoping you can hear Van. Van, are you there, love?
Yes, Amanda, I'm here and I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Right, I'm just turning you up. Can you hear Van, guys? Just somebody tell me. Eilish, perhaps, are you there? Can you hear Van? Talk, Van, for a minute.
Yes, I'm here. I can hear you, Amanda, loud and clear.
Yeah, they can hear you. Perfect.
Oh, that's good.
Well, they can't see you, but they can hear you. Well, it's better than nothing, isn't it? So,
It is.
So anyhow, welcome, Van. It's brilliant to have you here. We've been trying to do this for quite a while, haven't we?
Well, first of all, look, thank you for inviting me, and I know I can be a bit difficult to track down and commit to these things, and it's only because of the children and life revolves around them, I've decided. But no, I'm really happy to be with you tonight and to meet all your lovely clients and prospective clients too.
Oh, that's fantastic. So I just thought I'd ask you a few questions, Van. So I just thought the first thing would be, why did you decide, of all things, to become a bariatric dietitian? What was it about that inspired
Well, goodness me, how long have we got?
Maybe 5 minutes.
Right, okay, well, first of all, I was always interested in nutrition as a child, and that was because I grew up in a family of 4 children. Mum and Dad worked a lot, and so they didn't have very much time with us, so they showed their love through food, like most families do.
Yeah.
And my eldest sister always had a bit of a problem with her weight. And so because of that, my dad would say to us, right, we're not buying any more biscuits, no more chocolates, no more sweets. And I used to, there were the things as children that you really enjoy.
Absolutely.
So, when I had some freedom with finances and had a weekend job and so forth, the first thing I wanted to do is always go and buy pick and mix. And what I slowly noticed was that I was putting on weight just like my sister. And that really got me interested in food and nutrition. And I don't know about you, but I grew up in an era where it was Charlie's Angels.
Yeah.
And I used to wonder, how have they got a body like that? And so,
but Superwoman, Wonder Woman, she was even better.
Yeah, and I read everything all about these diets and exercise, and I thought, right, I need to be healthy. So I remember changing the way that I ate as a teenager. As women going through puberty, we do put on weight. It's part of the change. So that really got me interested in nutrition. And so I went off to university, did a 4-year degree in nutrition, then spent a further year training to be a dietitian in a clinical situation in a hospital. Yeah. Because we are the only regulated title to provide nutritional advice, believe it or not, in the country, because all our work is evidence-based. But also, I've realised over the years that we learn through experiences too. And, when I first became a dietitian, I was very, very much the way of thinking that I wasn't going to talk about weight loss because that's what everybody associates a dietitian to do. Yeah. So I thought, I want to save lives. So I worked with kidney patients for quite a number of years. But then what I realized was actually, a lot of these patients have diabetes, and what causes diabetes? The type 2 diabetes, it's putting on weight, poor diet and so forth. And I realized actually the fundamentals of being healthy, and being a healthier weight are actually really, really important. So over the years, I changed from thinking I was saving lives to actually thinking, no, I want to prevent these conditions, and hence ended up in weight management and bariatrics. And I just love it with a passion. I could, do it all day and all night.
You do it all day and all night.
Yeah, I could.
And, I know, but you do. You're like me, you're always working.
The nice thing about bariatric surgery is it gives you a tool to work with. You are not left alone. You've got your little friend there, that's helping you achieve your goals. But the thing with weight loss surgery is that, it physically controls your hunger. It doesn't control that emotional side where mindset is required. And I suppose that's where we both fit in with the bariatric success.
Absolutely, yeah, and it works, and I, how I feel about that, it's 20, and Dr. Ruby will say 25% of it is the surgery and the rest of it is down to you.
Absolutely. We choose the food that we eat, we choose the textures, we choose the balance on our plates, we choose everything. And there's so many patients that do go abroad and don't get that support about their mindset. And I think patients that are coming to New Leaf are extremely lucky because they're getting both of us.
Yeah, we've got double trouble.
But also, it's the patients that want to invest in themselves because they want a result. And not just a result that's going to last 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. We know that, after, around 5 years, patients start to lose that hormone sensitivity and then they're looking for a further surgery. But what we do know is that if we work on, that mindset, in the first year or two, we can really get you in a good head place to conquer everything.
Yeah. Absolutely, and I will say that to people. You almost can't go wrong in the first 6 to 12 months, and it can lull you into a bit of a false sense of security because you think, "Oh, I'm fixed." This is it.
Absolutely.
And if you don't change that relationship in those first 6, 12 months, it's even harder afterwards.
It is, because in those first 6 months, you're motivated, you are focused, you will do anything to make that surgery work because you've made an investment. So that's the prime time to get our patients to change the way they think about food, change their habits, change their lifestyle. Just, it's like weaning a child again, having to, the healing process post-surgery, it's just so important. It really is. I'm a firm believer in, all surgeons will say the most important part of your care is the aftercare.
Yeah. Absolutely, and that's why it was really important for me when I took over New Leaf to make sure that our aftercare was the most important part of it, and why I do these lives every Wednesday night. I just like to give that away to help people regardless. But we do have, you and I work together on a 6-month course that can help people changing the mindset, and you working with the dietitian side, and together we've got very similar values and things.
Absolutely, we're very much into, food freedom, honouring your hunger, that intuitive eating, because everybody needs to get out of that dieting restriction mindset of I can't do this and I can't eat chocolate and I can't eat biscuits. It just grows a monster.
Yeah, and I was saying the other day that the thing for me when I had my surgery is somebody had said to me, what is the biggest measure of your success, being successful? It wasn't to be a size 10 or 12 or 14. For me, it was to stop that, exactly what you said, what I call that washing machine brain going on and on and on about diets, calories, should I eat that? I shouldn't have eaten that. That awful cycle of shame, guilt, eat, shame, guilt, eat. And that is what the surgery, with all of the work I've done, has done for me. And that's the biggest gift in the world. Biggest gift in the world.
Yes, I know. But the thing is, Amanda, I suppose when you first had the surgery done, you may not have been mindful of that. But I think because you've been through that process and you've learned, that's why you know now how important it is. And in that day and age, you had surgery, what year was it?
8 years ago in May 2013.
There wasn't that much focus on mindset then.
No, not
even
at all.
even the surgeons and dietitians, we were there to tell you about eating techniques and portion sizes. It's only in the last 5 years or so, or 3 years, that mindset, changing that relationship with food has been really focused on, because, bariatric surgery it's relatively new, and we're now getting more and more evidence, about the hormonal effect and so forth, and how mindset is such an important part of aftercare.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, we used food so long to cope with life, and eventually when the newness, and I found this, that stage when people stop saying, you look amazing, oh God, you've lost so much weight, where your new size becomes a norm and life goes back to normal again. And, you know, that's when, for me, the rot, if you like, started to set in. And it's like that's when you start to use the food again for comfort. If you're not careful, you haven't changed your relationship with it.
Yeah, you become complacent, and that's normal, you know. After a while, you know, you feel the surgery's doing the work. You know, you think, wow, you know, I'm losing this weight. It's fantastic. And then all of a sudden the complacency sets in, and the old habits, you know, you start to soothe yourself with food again because you haven't worked on that habit. You know, you start you know, the biscuit with the cup of tea seems to return. And then before you know it, the weight's going back on.
Yeah.
So, you know, both nutrition and mindset coaching are extremely important after weight loss surgery. And, you know, I have to admit, I have a coach. I have a life coach because,
So do I.
Yeah. Yes. And, you know, I think with weight loss surgery, you know, when we need to learn something, we go to a coach, we go to a teacher. You know, for those patients that are going abroad or having it in the UK and not having any aftercare, how do you know what to do with your surgery? How do you know what to, you know, we all get given information booklets. Do we read them?
No.
Not really.
No.
Do we learn from them? Not really. However, when you speak to someone, because the advice needs to be bespoke, because no one's the same. Everybody is different. That's why I don't have diet sheets ready for everybody. I have, you know, standard information, but I will always put together a bespoke email, you know, bespoke advice, because you're the individual, you know, your problems compared to the next client is going to be very different. So it's really important to make sure your support is bespoke to you, because your needs are always going to be different to the next person.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So what would you say is the biggest problem people have after they've had the surgery?
I think, and I always say this, and I remember the surgeons would always, they knew exactly what I would say. It's managing the patient's expectations. And that's, because everyone thinks they're going to have surgery, and before they know it, in 6 months, they're going to be at their goal weight, you know. And I think that education pre-surgery is really important. You know, the rules that we've just said, that your surgery is going to do about 25 to 30% of the work, 70% is you. The surgery isn't going to do it all for you. You know, the whole hormonal effect will start to wear off slightly. So, you know, you need to be ready for that and not panic. And when you panic, you eat to soothe yourself because you think you're a failure again. You know, you've tried everything. You know, so I really do think the biggest problem is managing the patient's expectations, you know, and I think when someone's educated pre, during and after surgery, it really helps them cope with all the things they're going to have to deal with on the journey ahead.
Yeah, and that's really interesting, because I think one of the very first bariatric mindset TVs I did was titled managing on making sure you've got realistic expectations. Yes,
absolutely, because, you know, if that's not discussed, how are you expected to know what's going to happen?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like a, you know, it's not a goal, is it? It's just a wish. I always say it's like a sat nav. It's like you and me jumping in the car, you're with me. I say, hey, Amanda, let's go to London and do some shopping. So we drive down the motorway. We see the signs for London, but we haven't got a postcode. You know, manage your expectations about being given a postcode.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good analogy, actually.
Yeah.
So what are your top 5 tips for bariatric success, Van?
5 tips, I've got hundreds, let me tell you.
That's why I put top
and they're all top. So I think my first top tip is get professional help to prepare you for your surgery and your mindset. So for your nutrition and your mindset, it's really, really important. Sorry, I've got
the kids?
Children phoning me here. So professional help is really important to prepare you for surgery. My second top tip is use a smaller plate to control your portions.
Yeah. Extremely
important, because there's a psychology behind that. We've grown up with the idea of we must clear everything on our plate. Well, you know, and it's a difficult habit to manage. So one way of controlling it is that if you have a smaller plate, you're going to eat less food. So if you do finish what's on that side plate, you may still have a bit of wastage, but it's not going to be as much as what you would have off the normal dinner plate, which is about 12 inches. And a side plate, we're looking at about a 7-inch plate.
Do you know, that's really interesting, because last year at our support weekend, you came along and did a talk for us. And you said people start to use bigger plates without realising it.
Yeah.
And I had.
Yeah.
I'd gone back up to a big plate again, and I now always eat off a side plate ever since speaking you last year.
Yeah.
And in fact, on the Success Solution, I send out, as a part of the welcome pack, I send out a portion control plate for everybody.
Wow.
They get that as a gift, along with the Bariatric Bible written by Carol Ball. So yes, because I think it's so important after you said that, you know.
And it is. Then, you know, even at home, me and my children, we eat off a medium plate, because I look at those plates and I just think they're too big.
Yeah.
And I don't want my children to have, you know, a problem with portion sizes and so forth. And so, you know, I think, you know, that is probably one of my top tips. And the reason why I say that is because when I was working in the NHS, one of the call that we would always get is that, you know, after about a year or 18 months, you know, that everyone's putting weight back on. Yeah. And I used to do a post-op group session at around 6 weeks, and I said, look, I'm going to give you one top tip, and the top tip is that plate size. And I would say, and the reason why I'm giving you that tip is because you're going to call me in 12 to 18 months and say, Van, I'm putting weight on. And they all laughed, you know, and I said, and I'm going to turn around and the first thing I'm going to say is, what size plate are you eating off? And you're going to tell me a normal dinner plate, but I'm not filling the plate. But the thing is, when the brain, you know, the eye sees empty space on your plate, the brain's saying there's not enough food on there. So it's going to make you hungry and make you want to eat more. Whereas if you're eating off that smaller plate, the eye is seeing a full plate of food, and the messages that are being sent to the brain are, goodness me, there's a lot of food on there. How am I going to manage it? Can you see the messages are completely different?
Yeah, absolutely.
The first one, empty plate, larger plate, empty, I need more food. The next message is a smaller plate full of food. Goodness me, how am I going to eat it? There's too much on there.
Brilliant.
So that's one of my tips. Was that the second tip?
That was 2, yeah.
Right. The third tip is to make every patient aware that they are not going to feel hungry after the surgery. Now, the reason why I highlight that is because when I speak to patients 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks after surgery, even 6, they all are shocked that they don't feel hungry. And I have to remind them, well, look, I know that feeling, that sensation is very alien to you, but this is what you have signed up for, to not feel as hungry. But and also to not panic when that hunger starts to return. And that's because hunger is a survival mechanism.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. You know, if we remove it, the body will find a way to replace it in a smaller amount, because it's called survival. You know, if you're not hungry, that means you're not eating.
Die.
If you're not eating, your body isn't being nourished. If your body isn't being nourished, the brain is going to recognize that, and it's going to think there's a famine. So it's going to help you create some hunger to make you eat. So not to panic when that hunger comes back. It's perfectly normal, but it's not going to come back unless if you've got a very rare condition. It's not going to come back, you know, to the full potential that it was before surgery. So just to make everybody aware of that, so they don't panic, because when that happens, I see a lot of my clients panicking at times, thinking, right, I need to go on a diet, I need to do keto, I need to go back on my slim fast, and I need to do this. But it's not. It's just preparing yourself that it's going to happen, so you don't panic and go onto a calorie restricted diet.
Yeah, because that can just make the whole situation worse, because you're back on that diet wheel again.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You know, so don't panic if you do get some hunger back. It's normal.
Yeah,
it's normal. My next tip is my 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
Okay.
We love your 80-20 rule, Val. Everybody loves your 80-20 rule.
The 80, and I use this myself actually to keep to tame my habits down as well. So I tell all my patients that, look, if you are 80% healthier 80% consistent with the rules, with working with your surgery, 80% consistent with your food textures, it doesn't matter if 20% of the time you have some chocolate, or you have some biscuits, or you have a packet of crisps, or you have a meal out. And 20% of the time, and it might, maybe once or twice a week, okay? But it's to give you that freedom to enjoy the foods that you want to have. Mm-hmm. But it's in I wouldn't say a controlled way. It's letting you know that, I'm being really good. I'm being healthier 80% of the time. So if I want to eat something with a few more calories in, actually it's fine, rather than completely cutting something out, then craving it because you've been told you can't have it. When you crave it, you then go a little crazy, and then you might have one bar of chocolate, and then you might say, can I be a little rude with what I say?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. You might say to yourself, sod it. I'm going to have the whole packet of biscuits, all the bars of chocolates that are in this packet, because I've had that one bar and I feel guilty. The 80-20 rule is there to let you honour the freedom with food, so you don't feel guilty. It's the guilt element that that brings on the binging and the purging. So we want to remove that, and by having that 80-20 rule, I think it just gives people some boundaries. It defines what moderation is.
And it's funny how different people do it, because I know that for me, I always like to have a dessert, but after having my surgery, I would always share a dessert, and I would find that half a dessert with somebody else was plenty. I just needed the taste of it. I didn't need the whole dessert. And that was sort of one of my rules that I've always stuck to. We'll buy one between two, and it's almost quite nice because it's more intimate. You're sharing it, and it gives all that warm, fluffy feeling without having to eat loads of food like I would previously have done.
Absolutely, I completely agree. It's and again, for some people, if they're really struggling, they may decide to use the 80-20 rule on a daily basis. I discuss with some of your clients that, let's start with the 80-20 rule on a daily basis. So 80% of the day, your meals are firm in texture, and then 20%, it doesn't matter if, you have the odd soft meal for that day. Or, about snacks, if they're getting hungry, I'll say, right, let's make sure 80% of your snacks are high protein. And then one of your snacks, doesn't matter if it's, a couple of plain biscuits or a small piece of chocolate, because they may have been eating quite a lot of these foods, and it's just, it's allowing them, it's giving that permission that they can have these foods, rather than binging on them and completely cutting them out. It's just honouring that hunger. It's really, really important.
I think it's getting away from what I call the all or nothing thinking, which is one of the things that majority of people that are overweight do fall into that category of being either on it or off it. There's very
health professionals were very guilty of saying, many years ago it was you can't, you shouldn't, you mustn't. But now, enjoy. Liberate yourself. Have it when you feel you need it or you want it. Don't stop yourself, because it's when you stop yourself, that's when the problems start. And a lot of patients say that, I can't do that, Van, because if I let myself have one biscuit, I'll want the whole packet. And it might start off that way, but then over time you'll start to realise, actually, I can just have two and I'll be fine. So, it may all go wrong initially, but eventually it does work out. It's just about respecting yourself and honouring your hunger and listening to your body.
And also having nice food and treats that you feel, you don't feel guilty. Because I can remember before my surgery, nearly everything that I thought was nice food that went in my mouth, I felt guilty about. And it's about eating it and enjoying every bit of it, and not feeling guilty. I don't need it. When I do that, I don't need as much of it. I don't need the quantity, because the quality is doing the job of what the quantity used to do.
Absolutely. And I think, for some that are really extreme, there might be just guilt about eating.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's managing that. And, I always say that, even for my patients that aren't having surgery, it's about, right, let's just balance your meal. Let's stop counting calories. Let's start weighing everything. Let's make life as easy as possible, because we know calorie counting hasn't worked in the past. We know weighing your food hasn't worked in the past. So why would we want to go there again?
Yeah, absolutely. So
Keeping things simple is so important, because I know for me, I need to keep things as simple as possible. Otherwise, I feel overwhelmed, and it's really important. I think it's really important to not let our clients and patients feel overwhelmed, because when you feel overwhelmed, you just think, can't do it. I feel like a failure. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. And you hit that F it button.
Yeah, absolutely. Thought you were going to say it then.
No. I always call it the F it button. I'm not quite that rude.
You do.
Yeah.
You do. And, and this is why, we're here to stop you feeling overwhelmed, to make you believe you can achieve those health goals, and get you out of that denial, thinking that everyone initially thinks they can do it because the surgery is doing a lot more work initially, but get to 6 months, get to 9 months, and then you're starting to hit some weight stalls, and you start to panic. And we're just here to support you, to remind you that everything is okay.
Yeah, brilliant. What's your last top tip then, Van?
Oh gosh, how many have I read off? So I've spoken about controlling your portions, the 80-20 rule, informing you, protein.
Yep,
protein is important, so it's always protein first, protein and veg first, eat your carbs last. So when you portion your meals out, always make sure a good third of your plate, I know sometimes it's quarter to a third. I know some people say half a plate, a third of a plate is adequate. Again, if your intake of protein is really, really poor, then, go up to half a plate. But again, the advice might change depending on what stage you're at, and how well you're doing, or how not so well you're doing. So about a third of a plate protein, a good half a plate vegetables, because we want you to fill up on nutritious foods with lots of vitamins and minerals, but we don't want you to fill it with too many starchy calories. So the carbs part of your meal will always be a quarter or less, and that's just to get the balance right, because we all, the whole population eats too many carbs. I'm not saying you mustn't eat carbs, I'm just saying eat less of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so the balance of the meal is really, really important.
So we were going to talk about how important a bariatric dietitian is, but we've already touched on that, and just talking about our bariatric success course that we do together. It's a 6 month course where they work really closely alongside you and alongside me, and they've got some online work as well to do, weekly group coaching calls. So we really look after them and we really support them, but we also encourage people to take accountability for their own journey. That's something that you're very, that you really believe in, don't you, about making sure that we don't hold people's hands too much because they've got to do it themselves.
Absolutely. And I think it's about not feeling overwhelmed. And I suppose if your clients can't make that weekly call, there's usually a recording. But saying that, I did my first Zoom one, and completely, I don't know how it happened, but it didn't record, so you have to ignore that first session. But yes, accountability is important. It's just a check-in. It's not us checking upon you. It's just to check, are you okay? How are you doing?
Yeah, and how can we support you if you're struggling, which is really important.
Absolutely.
And also, I try to encourage, they fill in an accountability form every weekend, and it encourages them to look for the good things that have gone well, because I think a lot of us actually, first of all, if I say to a patient, how's it going, they will always tell me the things that they're struggling with. Always. And I'm trying to say, come on, before you think about that, let's talk about what's gone well this week. What are you doing well? Because I'm a big believer that where concentration goes, energy flows. So if we're always looking at what's not going well, then the likelihood is that things aren't going to go well.
Absolutely. Amanda, this sounds like deja vu. I had a business coaching session this afternoon, and you have just repeated the words that my coach said to me. So what has them, stop feeling overwhelmed. Why are you looking so worried? But it is and this is what makes it real. You and I are experiencing the same things our clients are, but just in a different area of our lives.
Yeah.
So for me, it might be business. For you, you know, it's life again. And for me, it's life and business, you know, and it just, for me, I know how important it is to have a coach. And if you want to achieve the results that you want to achieve and understand them and make sure they're long term, you need a teacher, you need a guide, you need a coach. It's really, really important. And I know people, you know, and it's that investment in yourself. It just takes it to another level.
And you know, that brings me on to a lot of people, particularly women, I find it really hard to believe that they're worthy of that investment, both in time and money.
Yes, you to all of that, because that was me.
Yeah.
That was me. I thought people were trying to rip me off. I've heard this all before, but your mindset has to change from that fixed mindset.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, of everybody's out there to get you. You know, I've been to Weight Watchers, I've been to Slim and Well. They've tried all of this and it didn't work.
Yeah.
Your mindset has to change, because I was like that. I was thinking like that in my business, and then I realised actually there's some really good people out there to help me, and then it made me thinking, goodness me, this is how it is for our patients and, you know, our potential clients, that they may be thinking, goodness me, how do we know this is going to work? Well, you know, sometimes it's about investing in yourself. And it is so important as a woman. I was exactly what you just said, and that's why I said yes to all of that. At times I don't feel worthy that I should be having this, because I think, goodness me, you know, I've got children to feed, I've got a mortgage to pay, I've got bills to pay. But then I think, well, actually, if I'm not the best version of me, how am I going to look after my children? How am I going to look after my patients? You know, we're here to serve, you know, and support.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really, really, really important.
You know, when we say we're not going to invest in ourselves in time and in money, because I always say, you know, we don't actually accept everybody on our bariatric success course. It's by application only, and the reason for that is that I actually believe that you've got to be 110% committed, and if you're not, then you're not going to get what you need out of it, and that's not good for anybody. You know,
I completely agree, and it's the same with having the surgery, isn't it? If you're not ready, you mustn't do it.
No, you mustn't, and it's got to make your life better. You know,
absolutely. It's got to add, better, not take away.
Yeah, but the other thing is about the money thing. You know, people always go, you know, they'll say to me, well, you know, I haven't got enough money for the success course, but I'll just do the surgery on its own. And I'm like, well, for me, I always say that money is the currency of commitment. If you have had to pay a decent amount for something that's worth what it's actually given, then you're going to do it. You're going to commit to it, because you felt a bit of pain to get there. And, you know, it makes you go, do you know what? I'm going to really do this. And I know this, because when you give something for free to somebody, they don't value it the same.
Absolutely. I completely agree.
You know?
I completely agree. And I know it's the same. I completely agree, because I've had mentors that have provided support for free, and they're not committed. And I haven't then felt committed either.
Yeah.
Whereas when there's an exchange of money, you know you're going to get value. You expect value.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it just brings up that level of commitment, I think. And I know, and I, you know, I feel really uncomfortable talking about money, but it's not about that. It's about, are you ready to invest in you? And I think for patients that are going abroad to have surgery, they're probably, you know, for a gastric bypass, you're paying up towards about £15,000.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of which about 2,000 of that would be aftercare.
Yeah.
At minimum 2,000. You know, by having surgery abroad, you're saving money.
Yeah, absolutely.
So always make sure that you are investing in that little bit of aftercare, because it's priceless. It really is.
I agree. So just to end for this evening, so I want to ask you, what is your favourite quote and why?
Right. My favourite quote's been knocking around for quite some time, and it's not what you eat, it's why you eat. We know what we should be eating.
I can't believe that, Van. Because you know that I was excited to do this book that's coming out on International Women's Day on the 8th
Oh,
of
yes,
March.
yes.
And I was asked to do a chapter of this book. It's 21 female entrepreneurs talking about how they use their life struggles for their business.
Right.
And I have actually called my chapter, It's Not What You Eat, It's Why You Eat.
You're kidding me.
I am not. I'm absolutely not.
Wow.
Seriously,
Well, yeah.
because I hope you're going to go buy a copy, because 99p on the 21st for a day on Kindle, and that is exactly what I call my chapter. I can't believe that.
That is my mantra.
That is
Everyone
so
always
spooky.
says, if you ask the surgeons that I've worked with, my patients, it's my line. It's, you know, I always come out with what you eat. You know, it's not what you eat, it's why you're eating. It's hitting on the emotional, the habitual hunger.
Yeah.
You know, that it's what we were good at doing.
Yeah.
And we need to break it down.
Yeah, I think that's so spooky. You and I were aligned from the very first minute we spoke to each other, didn't it? And that just shows it, doesn't it? It shows how together we are. It's been amazing talking to you tonight. I'm sorry we couldn't have your beautiful face on screen, because believe me, if you look at the advert I sent out, guys, Van is stunning, absolutely stunning.
Thank you.
And it'd be lovely to see you, but I'm hoping you're going to come down and see me when my house is sorted, and come and have a couple of days with me, Van, and we can have a bit of girly time. It'd be lovely.
Oh no, definitely.
And I love working with you. Thank you for helping me help all of our patients at New Leaf to have not just be successful in their weight loss, but to have better, happier and healthier lives.
Well, look, I'm committed to helping everybody, just like yourself, because it's such an important thing to do.
All right, my love. Thank you so much. It's been lovely to have you tonight. Maybe you'll come on again sometime if we ever get this Facebook Live up and running, talking, and we can see your face. But it's been fabulous. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for inviting me, Amanda.
Okay, thanks, darling. Thanks.
Have a lovely evening, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi guys, well that's Van gone. So she's great. I love working with her, and I'm going to put in the comments afterwards how you can get in touch with me if you want to consider working with me and Van for your bariatric aftercare. You don't have to do that at the beginning of your journey. You can come and work with us at any time in your journey, although I have to say at the beginning it is much easier than starting, you know, a couple of years down the line. But you know, at any time we can help you to get back on track with your tool and to help support you in making the very best decisions. So that's me for tonight. Apart from to tell you about my book, I've got this book that I just talked about. It's called Monetize Your Message. It's going out on International Women's Day on the 8th of March. There's 20 other women that were invited to join in with this book collaboration, and we're writing really about how our struggles have given us a living. And you know, I ended up doing this because of my weight, which I thought at one time was the worst thing ever in my life. It's actually turned out to be the very best thing, because I now have this amazing job helping you guys every day, and I love being you know, helping you with all of your troubles and your struggles, and you know, it's really great to be here helping. So if you'd like to be part of it, I'm going to put a link up as well for that you can join a little Facebook group that will tell you when we've got a 99p day. You can buy it on Amazon for 99p for pre-launch. There's some really, really interesting and inspirational stories in there as well. So yeah, that'd be lovely. So I'm going to leave it there for tonight. I will be back next week, and I will speak to you then. I'll let you know what the topic is going to be on Tuesday. Okay guys, take care, lots of love, speak to you later, bye.